Welcome, all you mages out there. It's Duuz-Diz-Din back with another review of Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest. This time I shall be reviewing Chapter 13, titled A Meeting on the Water, which actually is one that just picks up with just that, a meeting on the water between Lucy and Brandish, who for the most part kind of serves as an exposition dump of the previous story arc of Fairy Tale. Just how the Spriggan 12 have dissolved. Geel, who was the sand user of the Spriggan 12, and one of the first guys we were really introduced to of the Spriggan 12, he was actually a descendant of royalty, and thus being one of the biggest royal families out there, he ended up kind of taking over the entire empire with Jacob, the pervy dude, and Gil, the old man, acting as his advisors. Demira, who had the time alteration powers, who was really intense and angry and high spirited because of her run-in with Natsu and his Aetherius Natsu Dragoneel form. She completely got so scared shitless, she just gave it all up for a life of peace, which is saying something. And then Inval and Neinhard had apparently being like one of the two real zealots of the Spriggan army. They had tried to plot starting up another war, but got imprisoned. And Brandish also mentions that Lacard Dragneel, is still missing. And as you know, Lacard Dragneel was another creation of Zareth, very much like how Natsu was. And Zareth, in a very intense moment, had completely erased him to show that his creation was nothing. And so nobody else really knows that he's gone. You know, and then she mentioned it's just like Irene, Bloodman, Wall, Gotserina, all dead. And it's just like so many people, and even the old man who she saw as kind of the grandfather person who raised her, he died as well. Who was, as we found out, of all things, the child of Zareth and Mavis. Big spoilers if you haven't watched that, haven't read that. But why would you be reading this and not have read Fairy Tale up to its end? That's weird. Stop that. You have no one to blame but yourself. And then I don't want to be mean about this, but she mentions that casualties happened on both sides. And I'm like, no, you guys had more casualties on your side. You had a lot more people die on your side. Fairy Tale had, like, what? One, two, maybe three people die. Maybe a bunch of no-name people got taken out, but that's honestly about it. And Lucy tries to kind of, in a way, bury the hatchet with Brandish, since apparently she's on a bit of a vacation going in search of something special to her. And Lucy's just like, hey, how about we bury the hatchet, ally with us, we can help save Natsu and the others and all that. And Brandish is just like, yeah, no, I'm not about this. I'm actually in search of Aquarius's key, which, that was a big thing between Brandish and Lucy and their relationship of their mothers, how Brandish's mother had ended up dying, trying to protect one of the keys that Brandish's mother has had from Lucy's mom. This whole big thing. Seriously, in fact, go watch Fairy Tale the final season. It's airing now. It's right there. Just go watch it. But she's in search of Aquarius's key in order to reclaim it. It's been reborn into the world somewhere around the area where they're at right now. So that's Brandish's mission, and she tries to kind of coerce Lucy to come compete with her and looking for it. She's trying to get a little bit of a friendly rivalry going, which shows those underlying kind of almost lesbian relationships that you see from time to time. Because Wendy and what was her name? The one Sky God Slayer chick. Their relationship, the Sky Sisters, that whole thing, they got like ridiculously close in a way that is just like, I question that relationship. A lot of characters kind of have that relationship with Lucy. Brandish, Flare Corona from Raventail, and then that whole situation. Flare had this weird such obsession with Lucy. That kind of happens from time to time, because Mishima's not really willing to commit to making Lucy and Natsu like a couple or something. But you know Brandish just says, I don't really want to get involved with this. You work out your own situation. She re-enlarges Gray, unfortunately, right on top of Lucy. And Juvia, somewhere out there in Magnolia, is just like, my rival senses are tingling, which I love that. I don't know if that's just because of the close bond that they really have now or what, but Juvia will always just have that link with Gray no matter what, and it's funny. But Brandish, wishes Lucy a fond farewell, and, they showed that they have this connection that's just gonna be there. And so she just goes off. So Lucy, Carla, and Happy just have to continue their search to catch back up with the Diablos Guild. We then cut over to Magnolia, where we see Jalal hanging out in a hotel, after the confrontation he'd had with Loxus. And he's just like, what should I do here? Is she really not the White Witch? I can't believe she joined Fairy Tail. That complicates matters. And I'm just like, dude, go talk to Makarov. Just go talk to Makarov or something. Get it all straightened out. Let everyone be in the know just to keep an eye out for this girl or something. It feels like we're getting a little bit of unnecessary drama, but at the same time, I'm actually fairly interested to see where this is going. It's just like, this is an intense situation, someone out there just siphoning magical power away from lots of people, who is also apparently 100 years old, has obviously some connection to the 100-year quest going on, so there's obviously something deeper going on there. So I am at the very least interested in where Jalal's little side quest will actually go. We then pick up with Kyrie still abusing and, just being really mean-spirited to Urza. And I feel like, it's kind of gross. I'm sorry, it's kind of gross. I feel like this is probably someone's fetish, but it's like, nah, I ain't into humiliation stuff or anything like that. And she's like making Urza eat this rancid, expired food, and Urza throws up, and she washes Urza off by like throwing water on her, and just punishes her by spanking her. It's just like, what the hell is all of this? It's kind of nasty. I'm sorry. It's not for me. If it's your cup of tea, more power to you. But I ain't really into that kind of stuff. Maybe if both parties are consenting to this kind of crap, and like, yeah, okay, fine. There's some interest to be had, but it just not for me. And then we see that apparently Urza has just come out of her stupor of having her strength, quotation marks around strength, cut, and she's regained her senses, and she doesn't beat the ever-loving snot out of Kyrie, because she's just like, attacking an opponent in their sleep is a dishonorable action for a knight. I'm like, no, kick her ass. I'm sorry, kick her ass. But she goes to find Natsu and Wendy, and they're just like, wait, Ezra, how are you okay? And I'm sorry, this sounds like absolute BS, because apparently Kyrie's attack of cutting Urza's strength was some form of hypnosis, and because Urza has a fake eye, an artificial eye, because her original one was destroyed, and when she was a child, hypnosis attacks only half work on her, which has been explained before. But that does not that doesn't add up because that didn't seem like a hypnosis attack when Kyrie did it. It seemed like an actual strike. It like what? How does that work? That doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry, no. That's not how that should work. That's weird. What? Like, that's mighty convenient. Like, what are you talking? It was a She sliced you. I guess it's like some kind of commentary on emotional states and how they're just perceptions of your mind. So only a form of hypnosis would actually destroy your state of being in such a way. But at the same time, that just like. Why was she even able to do something like that? And why would it even work the way it worked, where it was a form of hypnosis? And why would it even, be only work on Ezra for such a short period of time? Like, does that mean it would normally last, like 24 hours or something? Is that how that worked? Because Urza makes it sound like it would have been a permanent thing if it were not for her artificial eye. So I'm like, what? I'm about to lose my chill over this. I'm like, no, stop that. Don't get into this BS of how, Deus Ex Machina, that's mighty convenient situations just come up all of a sudden, allowing the heroes to win. Because it's like, no, that doesn't make sense. But she unties Natsu and Wendy, who are still kind of out of it because they're ultimately on a ship, so they're not really able to do anything. However, save of saves happen where apparently, thanks to Brandish, a small rock underground is enlarged, stranding the ship that the Diablos Guild are on. So now the Fairy Tail members, the Dragon Slayers, are able to fight back. Which is mighty convenient, but at least that feels like a little bit more of a, okay, yeah, there was some setup for that. I'm thankful for that. At least Brandish had a reason for why she was out there, searching for the key of Aquarius and all that good stuff, which was highly hinted to beforehand. So that's at least not surprising. So now the Urza, Natsu, and Wendy are ready to strike it back against the Diablos Guild. But it's just like, why would this be any different? Like, these guys got their asses handed to them, unless we get some BS power up like we used to get in the previous Fairy Tail series. There's no reasoning as to why, they would be able to win against these guys this time around. So, I'm sorry. I don't want to be hating on this series. I love Fairy Tail, I really do, but it makes me question so many things. The plot holes, the convenience of how things happen. It just happens in a way that it's just so hard to overlook at times. Because it's just like, I want to overlook it. I tend to be one of those people who overlook certain things because I enjoy certain things. But at the same time, I end up being like, that doesn't make any sense. But we'll just have to see what happens. Hopefully, Mashima does not pull some BS out of his butt in order to explain how the Fairy Tail Guild wins this. At most, let him escape or something. Don't turn the Diablos Guild into a bunch of fodder, because I'll be legit with you, had Brandish not named off the members of Spriggan, I would not even remembered most of those dudes' names. Like, Brandish was probably the most prominent person in that grouping, aside from Irene, who was Urza's mom, so of course I'd remember that at least, and Zeref himself. So it's just like, I don't know. But Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Brandish's involvement? Because she is bae. I'm sorry, Brandish is bae. I really like her character as a whole, and I would love to see her get involved, which would turn the tide of a battle, which would, be at least an explanation for why they were able to get the edge up on the Diablo's guild. But aside from that, I don't see them winning. How do you feel about this? Do you feel like they should have a chance to win, or are you like me, like it wouldn't make sense for them to claim victory? And how do you feel about the whole situation with Urza? Because it's I feel like I've said it before in a previous review, but it feels like that whole situation is just like, how did you manage to overcome this? Because she's Urza. Like, what? No, what? I love Urza as much as the next two, but that makes no sense. I'm just gonna keep going off on a rant. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. If you liked what I had to say about this chapter, leave me a like. If you didn't like what I had to say here, if I was being far too harsh, feel free to leave me a dislike. Go ahead, I'll understand if some people are just able to accept this a little bit better than I can. But it's just like, I want this series to do better than, these certain moments, and I feel like it can. It just doesn't try hard enough. So feel free to leave me your hate. I will gladly accept it. And hey, how about subscribing for the next chapter review of Fairy Tail, the 100 Years Quest. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.